Hi everybody, welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel and welcome back to another match preview. This week we'll be taking a look towards the away game against Manchester United. I'm Scott, I'm your host for this one, and I'm joined tonight by Iain and Harry. Iain, come to you first, mate. How has your week been since we last spoke?
Yeah, it's been really good. Obviously, we caught up on Sunday morning doing the match reaction. Yeah,
match review. Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
And then what did I do Sunday? Oh, I had some brownies, what mint. Sophie cooked them. They were good. And then it's just been a nice week. Still positive from Saturday.
Awesome. Do you cook brownies or do you bake brownies?
Yeah, bake them.
Put in the comment below what you think. We'll get a bit of viewer interaction on this one.
It's definitely bake.
Oh, I don't know why spoil it, Iain. Don't spoil it. Harry, mate, how are you? How's the 80s boombox over your shoulder pumping out
Fantastic. The tunes? It's brilliant. I'm all right. Any good in it? I like it.
It is.
Bit retro. Same as the kid as well. Bit retro.
Same as the kid.
Retro life.
Absolutely. Smashing. Before we get started, I do obviously have to do a little bit of housekeeping and let everybody know that the Gallowgateshots match preview is brought to you by none other than Magpin. Same as every week, same as the rest of the season. Magpin are your go-to site for high-quality, unofficial, enamelled pin badges of Newcastle players, legends, and retro kits. And if you watch Monday's Always Smiling Faces podcast, you'll see a few of them little postcards that we've been talking about dotted around the studio, so keep an eye out for those. They're doing them every month, and I think there's some retro ones this time as well because there isn't that many games, so keep an eye on that. If you want more information, go to magpinbadges.bigcartel.com. So as I mentioned at the start of the show, Newcastle will be travelling down to Old Trafford for a 2 p.m. Super Sunday kickoff. We're playing Man U, of course. Who else would we be playing if we're going to Old Trafford? They've seemed to pick up a bit of form since the start of the season. I seem to remember we were all talking about them tongue-in-cheekly being favourites for relegation after their poor start, but they've picked up, beaten Liverpool and Arsenal. Then obviously there was that big defeat against Man City where they got beat 6-3. Pretty much by Erling Haaland on his own, but there was obviously Phil Foden as well to chip in with that. And then the last game in the Premier League, at least, they picked up a win against Everton. Harry, I'll come to you first on this one, mate. How are your confidence levels going into this game against Man U?
I'm quite confident, to be honest. I'm probably the most confident I've ever been for Newcastle going down to Old Trafford. I think, yes, they've picked up the form, but they're still not fantastic. They're not Man United, that we all know. Not love, but that we all know. But yeah, I think the way we're playing as well, we've came off 2 big wins. Both, what was it, 4-1, 5-1? So It's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. I think going down, confidence will depend also. It's to 1 o'clock, when the team news is announced. But I might as well get to that, but that's my big thing with this weekend.
Yeah, we will absolutely get to the Newcastle lineups a bit later on in the show. You mentioned about confidence, and someone asked me the other day, is this the most confident that you've been going into Man U? And I probably think, apart from that first season when they had David Moyes, where everyone was getting a result at Man U, I'd probably say, yeah, I am confident in going into this weekend. They are a good side. They do have some really good world-class players, but they're like a light switch. They're either off or they're on. They're not. There doesn't seem to be any in between with Man U at the moment. So let's hope we can get them on one of their off days. Iain, Man U, tough game?
Obviously, just to sort of repeat what Harry said, it's not the Man U of old where under Ferguson where you just dreaded going down. There's teams can go down there now and get results. That being said, like you said, they've still got world-class players. That can hurt you. That Anthony that they got from Ajax, he's chipped in with a couple of goals already. So it is a case of I'm very similar to Harry. I am more confident than I've been in previous years, but I know sort of Man U at the start of the season were like a bit of a joke and people are poking fun at them. But they are still a world-class side. They've got world-class players. So I think anyhow, again, though, coming off the back of 2 wins, He's got sort of the team well drilled. We're very, very hard to beat. We're very hard to break down. So that just adds to sort of the confidence going down, and hopefully avoiding a drubbing.
Well, Man U are currently sitting a position above us in the league. They're on 15 points with 5 wins, 3 losses, and not a single draw this season. They have had 2 games postponed as well, so they've got a game in hand on us because obviously there was that 1 week where everyone had a game postponed. But they are at a -2 goal difference. Given they seem to be leaking goals, even in the games they've won, they always seem to concede. Harry, are you confident we might be able to nick a couple of goals in this one?
I am. I think the fact that you said I haven't had any draws, or 1 draw, you said, I think. Not one at all. Well, nope. I think we are like the team of draws, really. We've had a lot of draws this season. Now, whether that tells you that we're attack very well and defend like shit or the other way around. But I think we defend well. So I don't think we'll concede. We could possibly get the first draw, to be honest, from United. Because I don't think they'll be leaky. However, I do think we will get 1 goal, but 1 or 2. I haven't fully decided yet. I'll wait until the end of the video to make my mind up. But no, I think there could be. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I can't really say yet. Depends who's playing left wing.
Yes, and we'll come to our predictions at the end. Iain, Man U brought in 8 new players during the summer transfer window. You've already mentioned Anthony from Ajax. They also brought in Casemiro, Martinez, also from Ajax. Obviously, they also got Christian Eriksen on a free, and we cannot forget Martin Dubravka going there on loan to sit in his hotel room and watch them on the telly, which he seems to be doing week in, week out. Apart from Anthony, which you've already mentioned, do any of those other signings worry you going into the game?
If I'm honest, I haven't watched a lot of Man U. Obviously, the players that you've mentioned there, he came from Real Madrid. He's got sort of Champions League pedigree. Yep. Christian Eriksen is just an all-round fantastic player, regardless who he was playing for. I haven't really seen a lot of the defensive line. I'm hoping, because I haven't really paid much attention. I'm hoping Harry Maguire's fit, and I hope he starts, because I think he can get at him. To be honest, I think my mum and dad could play and get at them. But in terms of, I think what will be interesting is, and I'm sure we'll touch on it in sort of a little while, is what the lineup's going to be. I think Chris and the lads touched on it on Monday night on their podcast, that obviously Eddie Howe has a habit of not dropping players in a winning team, which I completely understand. But I think for this case, with that Anthony on the right wing, I think he plays. Yeah. I think it's a recipe for disaster if you start Burn at left back. So it wouldn't surprise us to see some changes going down there. And like Harry touched on as well, who will then be playing on the left-hand side. If he switches the formation, remains to be seen. But like I say at the start of the video, they've still got world-class footballers. They've got Ronaldo, who's, I think he hit 700 goals, club goals, against Everton on Sunday, which is just absolutely insane. And I think he's pushing mid to late 30s now, and he's still, I think, an absolute animal. So he's still one to look out for as well.
Yeah, you've mentioned Ronaldo. He hasn't been starting that many games for Man U from what I've seen. He seems to be on the bench. He doesn't seem to be very happy about that either. Obviously, it's Cristiano Ronaldo. Getting to the age he is, he probably wants to play every game he can while he still can. And, I'm not going to say that he's nearing retirement of anything, because he's still a specimen of a human being. He could probably go at least 50 and still be, banging the goals in whatever league that's in. Harry, obviously, I'm not going to ask you if Ronaldo should be a worry, because I think that would be the easiest question I've asked you all season, and will probably be the easiest question I'll ask you all season. But how do you think his potential unease in the club is going to affect other players with him not starting every game?
Oh, so you asked me the most difficult question.
One way or the other.
I suppose. I do feel like, yes, Ronaldo is fantastic, but I think we all know he's got a massive ego. And I remember, obviously, Jose Mourinho years ago when he was managing Man United, he said you cannot coach a team with the amount of egos that are in this club. And I hope that's. I mean, Ten Hag looks a pretty serious character. He looks like he doesn't let no one get past him. But I think it could help the team, to be honest. So say if he starts, that could give them the extra kind of oomph to get up the pitch and do something. I doubt many people say to Ronaldo no in the team, or whether it's management. Throughout his whole life, I bet he's never been told no, really. So if he's saying to the players, pass to me, let's move up the pitch, they probably will. So it could work both ways. It could affect the team's morale, but it could also make them kind of a bit more fire in the bellies to get something.
I bet you Alex Ferguson said no to him a fair few times. I bet he's probably the only one of the only people who has said no to him. Iain, you mentioned Harry Maguire. He is injured. There's no expected return date on that. They've got a few, actually. So we've got McTominay, who's suspended for the game. Martial's on a 50-50. He might be back tomorrow in the European Cup that they've got. We'll talk about the midweek game in just a second. You've got Donny van de Beek, Williams and Wan-Bissaka are all out as well. Obviously, Van de Beek doesn't really matter because he couldn't get a start for Everton, so he's not going to get a start for Man U. Ten Hag really liked him when he was at Ajax and he played him really well, and he probably, once he gets back to fitness, will get the best out of him, what we saw at Ajax. I didn't see much of them. It's hard to get a season ticket at Ajax and hard to get a ticket full stop, but what I did see of them, he played really well. I think Champions League games against Liverpool stand out, where he played pretty decent. It might have been Arsenal. They've also got Rashford, who's potentially out, but again, could be returning tomorrow. So there's some big names on that injury list. Does that give you more confidence, Iain?
I think these days it still feels weird that you're not really worried about what the other team's going to do or who they're going to put out. I think sort of the last. He started this season and halfway through last season, basically since Eddie Howe took over, we've stopped worrying about what other teams can offer, and we are quite comfortable with what we can offer. So, like you say, there's a few injuries. Some of those injuries are key players. Well, for all, like I say, Maguire, I don't rate him at all. I think he's their club captain, or he has been recently. So he is still sort of a big personality to be missing from a match day squad. Touching on what Harry said as well, there's with that great quality of players, you have egos. And I know obviously he's not at the club anymore, but Paul Pogba was sort of the epitome of that. And I think that's possibly where they've went wrong in recent seasons. They've had too many egos, and it's upset sort of the balance of the squad. But just naming some of those names there that you mentioned, and especially Rashford as well, I think he has a point to prove, especially with the World Cup coming up. So again, as I said at the start of the video, yes, they're not the Man U of old, but they have still got some really, really good players. So we'll need to be on top of a game to, like I say, to hopefully get something out of it.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously them losing Paul Pogba, who was a huge ego. It's almost like Man U now need to go and sign Mbappe just to top their egos back up, or maybe tip it over the top, because he doesn't appear to be happy. There obviously is one other player that we haven't mentioned, and that is the second best Bruno in the Premier League. He's another one with a big ego, it seems. And he also seems to, for me, whenever he's playing with Ronaldo, them two getting together, I don't know if it's the Portuguese connection and they've done it in the international side, but it's just like a couple of babies on the pitch at times of those two, the way they get onto the ref.
Horrible.
We haven't had the best refereeing decisions of past. Obviously, there's been a few go for us and a few go against us. If Bruno and Ronaldo, and I'm talking about Bruno Fernandes, not our Bruno, and not the good Bruno, get on the referee's back, do you fear, Harry, that could potentially go against us? It is at Old Trafford. It is notorious, penalties and extra time and all that go their way when they're in their own pen. Is that something that we need to be mindful of?
No, I think referees are pretty clued up that Bruno's a whiny little bastard. I cannot stand him. Once again, Fernandes, I'm not going to keep saying that. I mean, you can kind of gauge by the way I'm talking about, the little prick. But I hate him. He is probably one of the most hated players in the Premier League. I cannot stand the bloke, but he is a good football player, but I don't think he's going to change the referee's decision. Also, like you said, we have had decisions go our way recently, and I think after the Crystal Palace mistake, I think the referees have just kind of been told to like just sharpen up. The VAR has been told to sharpen up, and they know that when they come to Newcastle, probably the reaction that they got from that bad decision can happen again. So they're trying to avoid it at all costs. It feels weird not to be complaining about VAR as a Newcastle fan, because a lot of it's gone our way recently. And I think the refereeing recently has been pretty good, to be honest, especially at the games that I've been to at home. I haven't really been that surprised, apart from the handball slightly with Dan Burn, but it's going to be given. There's hands up here. I still don't think it is. I'd never give it because I think it's harsh, but it's a penalty. But yeah, the rest of the decisions, I think, would be absolutely fine at the weekend. Yes, Old Trafford is a big stadium and they can make noise. They really can. Yes, it's a very touristy fan base, but we can end up being like that as well. But they can still make a noise. But if it goes our way, we'll be the loudest in there by a mile.
Absolutely. No holds barred there from Harry, as you probably tell about his.
Sorry, I do apologise.
His opinions over Bruno Fernandes. That's what you get on the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. True opinions, no holding back. What we all like to see. We'll move on to Newcastle. We'll move on a little bit to the lineup. I'll start with the injuries. Obviously, the list is getting shorter every single week that I read these injuries out. We're looking at Darlow, Shelvey, Ritchie, and Kraft as the long term. And Shelvey is back on the grass, as Eddie Howe liked to say. He hasn't been visiting Amsterdam. He is back on the training pitch. And Isak is potentially a return. Iain, do you think we'll see Isak be on the bench at the weekend?
If he's fit enough to get game time, then yeah. You look at the competition that he has, and no respect to Chris Wood.
No respect to Chris Wood?
No disrespect. No, none of that either. Obviously, out of the two, he's your sort of record signing. It's a no-brainer to put him on there. Obviously, I would expect Chris Wood to be on there as well. And it would just be interesting in terms of seeing if he is fully fit, Howe has plans for whether he's going to start with Callum Wilson, whether it's going to be one or the other, where he's going to fit in. But I think obviously just coming back from injury, regardless of who was sort of leading the line, I think Isak slots in on the bench. Hopefully he's got enough to give sort of half an hour, 20 minutes if you're chasing a goal, or just to sort of see what you can do, especially against a good outfit like Man U. Obviously we've seen him against Liverpool, and he was on his debut. He was absolutely tremendous. So just hoping he hasn't lost that match sharpness, but easing him back in, especially at Old Trafford, is probably the best way to go if he does feature.
Absolutely. Totally agree. So I think when we come to the lineup, obviously there's a few players that pick themselves, and I think we're all in agreement that, Nick Pope, Kieran Trippier, Bruno, Callum Wilson, I think also as a pick. We could also argue for Miguel Almiron's probably a name on the team sheet that you cannot drop at the moment just because of his current form. But around that, there's some question marks about who starts and who doesn't play. And we'll come to the back line. I think Harry, Andy, and you've probably both already expressed the opinion on the left back situation. Do we bring Matty Targett back in, or do we keep Dan Burn? What do you do, Harry?
Matty Targett. I think you have to, unless he decides to play a 5-back, which I don't think will happen, because then you can obviously have Targett and Dan Burn. But no, I think you have to bring Targett back in, because I noticed a few times against Brentford, Dan Burn got caught out a little bit, kind of loose balls and things like that. And if you do that against Man United, yes, they're not in the greatest form of their lives, but they've got players with pace, and that can really do some damage if given a chance. Because we don't want to have a defence like Brentford did last weekend, because they probably will press us. And I feel like if you press Dan Burn, he is quite cool under pressure, but he's not fast. And if he was to lose the ball again, I think you have to start Matty Targett for that reason.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do there and how he plays that left back position. Obviously, he's been given Matty Targett a few minutes at the end of the last two games, albeit at right back, which was surprising, but he's at least getting, some minutes in his legs so that he's probably preparing him for this game, I would think, to go, right, this is the one you're going to come back in. Iain, when it comes to centre-backs, do you keep the pairing of Botman and Share? Or if you're dropping Dan Burn from left-back, do you move him in the middle?
You know what it is? Just as we were discussing that, I was thinking what you would do, because I'm sure he's done it before where we've expected Botman to start, and let's be honest, I think Botman's a different gravy in terms of what he can offer, both defensively and on the ball. I'm sure again the lads were on about it on Monday. Not that I think you will, but the Liverpool game, I'm fairly certain it was it Lascelles and Shaw.
Yeah.
I don't think
maybe Lascelles and Burn.
Or Lascelles and Burn. I don't think
yeah.
Lascelles will come back in. But I do think you'll start with a back four. Target is obviously your left back because he's a natural full back. Trippier, obviously, that goes without saying. I think Shaw, I have a slight suspicion that he might drop Botman again. I think it will be very, very harsh on either of them, to be honest, because I think they both performed really well. They're both really, really solid players. I just have a sneaking fancy that he'll want Dan Burn in. But it's not like we're asking this question and it'll be Kieran Clark that's filling in. Dan Burn's still very, very solid. I would prefer a back four of Botman and Shaw centre halves, and then Trippier and Target as your fullbacks.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll move up the pitch a little bit into midfield. Obviously, Bruno is the name that we keep on this team sheet. I think also, if you're looking at Joe Willock, he could probably do a little job in that midfield as well, the way he's been playing recently. He was an unsung hero at the weekend. I don't think he got nowhere near as much credit as he actually deserves. And he cemented his place in the squad for me. But there's the question around Sean Longstaff or Joe Linton. And I know that may seem like a crazy dilemma, but Sean Longstaff has been playing really well and potentially keeping Joe Linton out of the squad. Harry, given the personnel that Man U have in the middle of the field, do you go for, and I'm going to say this in terms of like Sean Longstaff has more experience in central midfield than Joe Linton does. Do you go for the more experience in the position, or do you go for Joe Linton in terms of, what he can bring to the side?
Joe Linton, 100%. Against Brentford, Sean Longstaff wasn't as good as he was against Fulham. He wasn't awful, but I did think at times he was a bit slow. And I think when Joe Linton came on, yes, he went on left wing, but you kind of saw what we're missing, just the drive forward, which he can do from centre midfield. Also, like we're talking about, Bruno Fernandes, my best mate. I think if you have like Joe Linton in midfield, just to bully him and keep clipping his ankles and just little things like that, it'll be unbelievable for us. I think it'll work so well in our favour. Because you'll constantly monitor the referee, get booked, and then just tensions rise from there. As long as Joe Linton keeps his head. And I know you're saying, Joe will 100% you keep in, but Bruno's wife might pop soon, so fingers crossed that doesn't happen because the baby's on the way, isn't it? So, I mean, fingers crossed it does happen, but I mean, I'd rather it happen after the game, because I just think it would be a massive loss, and I think everyone knows no matter what team you play against, if Bruno was not in that team, it is a massive loss. But yeah, touch wood, she can hang on another day and then we'll be all right. But yeah, I think Joe Linton comes straight in for Longstaff, to get back to your original question.
Yeah, there is that one worry. I mean, it's not a worry. It's obviously it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, the gift of life. But we will leave that to whatever God you believe in, or whatever nature you believe in, or whatever science you believe in, to when that comes and when that day happens. I'm sure if it happened like today or tomorrow, we'd probably still be okay for the game. I think we're probably looking if it's a Saturday. Who would have thought we'd be talking about baby births on this show? But if it was a Saturday birth, you probably would expect him to miss the game. And obviously, if it's on Sunday, then it's even worse. He's going to miss it. But we'll move to the wings. Obviously, we've mentioned Miggy Almiron already, and I think everyone is in agreement that you can't drop Miggy in the form he's in. I'm going to come to you, Iain, to speak about your favourite person in the world, Jacob Murphy. I know you've had up and down opinions of him in the past couple of weeks, but we all know your opinion of him on the whole. Do you keep him in the form he's been in, or do you drop him? And if you do, who takes his place?
For me, it depends on how fit St Maximum is. In terms of, I suppose it depends on who you're going to start left back as well. If he keeps Dan Burn, I think Murphy will need to start because he offers you a lot more cover than what St Maximum would. If he's starting Target, it then goes on to depend how fit St Maximum is. Again, even to be honest, as much as I really don't rate Murphy, he has done well the last 2 games. I think he's pressing as well, which is obviously we've seen is Eddie Howe's game. He was involved in that on Saturday against Brentford.
Yeah.
But you expect any one of the 3 wingers that we've got, so Murphy, Fraser, St Maximum, to do that job. Then, like I say, it'll come down to who. If St Maximum's fit, you want to play him in these big games. He's he done well again. I think it was Man U last season. He scored, I think, when we drew 1-1. I do think if Target's starting, I do think Murphy will be dropped, and I think it'll be either Fraser or St Maximum, depending on obviously Saint's fitness. And then obviously Miggy on the right hand side, he cannot do any wrong at the minute. You can tell he's turned a corner in terms of his confidence. He's all, like I said on the match review on Sunday morning, he's always had that endeavour. He's always had that energy. He's always put 110% in. Now he's adding goals and he's looking a lot more threatening. So he picks himself at the minute. Just touching on the midfield, I think I agree with Harry. I think Sean Longstaff has done quite well the last couple of games. I feel like we are quite well balanced when he's in the squad. Allows Bruno to go forward that little bit more. But coming up against a team where you've got higher sort of quality players in, you need an absolute shithouse and just an absolute battering ram that is Joe Linton. And if we don't forget, I think Joe Linton played the best game of his life against Man U last season at home as well. So again, I'm glad I'm not Eddie Howe, and I'm glad I don't have to have this headache, but it is a nice headache to have for once, rather than what left back can we play in centre mid, and where can we play with substitute goalkeeper up front. So these are such good problems to have. It's kind of weird discussing it, because although we have talked about the lack of quality and depth, there is still a lot of options with how we can set up and what personnel can be used. So will be interesting to see. And like you say, at the minute, Wilson, he will be the starting striker, unless obviously he's like stepped on a twig and broke his ankle, which wouldn't surprise us. But no, I think that's what he'll go for. But it'll be very interesting to see how he sets. So we could be sitting here discussing that, and then come Sunday, it's something completely different that we hadn't even thought of, which tends to be the case. Which is why we're not Newcastle United manager.
It does. Yeah, we haven't been too good on the old predictions and the lineups or in the score predictions, which we'll move on to now. Iain, I'll stick with you because I saw Harry wince a little bit there when I said score predictions, so I'll let him have a little think about it. What's your predictions for Sunday?
I'm going to go a score draw. I think I'll go 2-2. I think the midweek game for Man U, obviously, I think they're playing at home though, so it's not too much of an issue. I think they're at home against, I want to say, is it Omnia Nicosia or someone like that? I think it's a Cypriot team. That obviously at home, so it's not too much of a sort of a disruption travelling back from wherever on a Thursday night, Friday morning. So they'll still get a good training session in. Again, they are in quite good form. They've only lost 1 in the last 6, albeit against City. It's still going to be a difficult place to go. So I'll hope I'm going to go 2-2 draw.
Yeah, you mentioned they've got a midweek game just coming up before us. They've also got a midweek game after us against Tottenham. So there's a potential of some rotation going on somewhere, because I don't think Man U will want to go in to the Tottenham game short-handed.
Is that a
I think,
must-win game as well in the Europa League coming up tomorrow?
I don't know. I haven't been watching the only thing I've been looking at for the Europa Cups with Man U is if Dubravka's getting a game and he's not. So that's the only thing I've really been looking at. I haven't really been following them too much in there.
Fair enough.
But Harry, we'll come to you now. Your score prediction for Sunday?
Yeah, pretty similar to Iain, I think. I've kind of got 3 predictions, really, because I think it's going to be 1-1. However, I do feel like it could go either way. So, like, I feel like it could go Man United's way at the end or our way at the end. I think we could leave it very, very late. Both teams could. We kind of saw Everton attacking Man United very late on in their game, with Pickford almost scoring ahead of which, thank God, didn't happen. But no, I think it could be a 1-1 draw. I did originally think a loss, but I like being positive. So I'd say a 1-1 draw. And like I said, I think it really could go either way towards the end. I think it could be very end-to-end game.
So just to get this right, you think we're either win, lose, or draw. Is that right, Harry?
Yeah, so it'll be 2-1 Newcastle United, 2-1 Man United, or 1-1. I've got to get one right, surely.
Excellent. Well, I think, and if you've watched the FPL show, Daniel also thinks that we might do one over Man U, and I think we might catch him a little bit off guard. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory. That could be bold, but hey, confidence is high. Goals are flowing, and they're also flowing against Man U. So yeah, I'm going for 3-1. Why the hell not? It's not like I'm putting money on it. And it's not like any lives are dependent on it, so why not 3-1? Although if Chris watches this, he might kick us off the channel after saying that, but we'll see what happens. Right, is anyone else wants to add about the game on Sunday?
I'd like to apologise for my language about Bruno Fernandes.
You don't ever have to apologise about anything, Harry.
Maybe not apologise, actually. I meant every word I said. That was a bit
he's
tame for me, to be honest.
Horrible. Him and he's up there with Anthony Gordon for.
I am worrying though. What, Claire Bolden? He probably looks like Claire Bolden, doesn't he? Anthony Gordon with his hair like that.
He does. I
feel like Bruno Fernandes. Now we're saying this. If he scores, imagine if a Man United fan's watching this right now, they'll be sitting there thinking, "How Fernandes get a goal with his horrible little face."
Is there anything else you want to get off your chest, Harry?
I was going to say, I think before Harry says something that could potentially get him sued, shut the channel down. We're definitely not going to get monetized for this video. So if
just bleep me.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find a nice bleep sound and put that over the whole thing. So apologies if anyone's got tinnitus, because it's going to sound like it's even worse tonight with the bleeping. No. As always, this sort of content you only get on the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. These sort of opinions you will only get on this channel as well. So if you like it, scroll down from this video and just tap that little subscribe button. We've just passed 9,000 and we're now on the road to 10,000 subscribers. So yeah, looking at the stats on these videos, 33% of the people watching these videos are not subscribed. So you're probably one of them if you're watching this. So just scroll down, hit the subscribe button, and while you're there, you can hit the little thumbs up or thumbs down, and that feeds the YouTube algorithms to let other Newcastle United fans know about these videos, and it'll appear on their feeds. And if you want to go that extra mile, you can obviously always become a member of the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. It's $2.99 a month, and that gets you early access to all the videos that we do that are not live. So the match previews, these match previews, the FPL show. If there's a Beyond the Lines and there's a match review, we'll also give you those early as well. And there's also the Telegram group, which is a nice little community of around 130 fans currently, all talking all day, all about Newcastle United. What more could you want for $2.99? I don't think you get much better value anywhere else. On that note, I will say thank you to you, Iain and Harry. It's been a good one. I've enjoyed this one tonight. Thanks for not holding back, Harry.
Yeah. Don't know how to feel about this. I'll probably watch it and I'll be like, oh no, what have I done? What have I done? But that's my opinions. Maybe kind of exaggerated slightly, or not enough.
And absolutely. And I think that's one thing that everyone needs to remember. These are just our opinions. We don't claim to be any form of ITKs or anything like that when it comes to teams and players or anything there. Unless anyone wants to admit anything right now, but I don't think so. Iain, thanks very much, mate. It's always a pleasure as well talking to you.
No bother at all.
And thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one. There'll probably be a match preview for the Everton game. I think we've got a midweek one coming up. So Monday, Tuesday.
I've
just thought of something that I wanted to mention.
Go on then.
How lush is Bruno with his team of the week sticker thing?
Yes.
I really just want him to come round for Sunday dinner. He's just the best person I've ever seen in my life.
Sunday dinner and a few games of FIFA. What more could you want?
Played him in the number 8 position, not the number 6.
Absolutely. Well, if you haven't already, get yourself an ultimate team and try and get Bruno in your packs or however you do it. Whatever you want to do. But he has received a team of the week card. We were all expecting it, I think. But we were also expecting a Miggy one last week and it never happened.
Robbed.
Absolutely robbed, yes. But that's another discussion for another show, I am sure of. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. And good luck to Newcastle for Sunday. Bye.
See you later.